Hello everyone, this is James from Tin Robot Games, and this is the Making a Game web series, where you get to follow along with us making a game. In this case, we're reskinning a card game that's been in my family for over 100 years. In today's episode, we're going to cover off the mechanics of this particular game.
Resistance to fun is futile.
Now, this game has 104 cards. It's 2 decks of cards. Now that might seem like a lot of cards to have to reskin or wrap, but when you get into the mechanics of it, it actually breaks down fairly simply. Now, this game is a rummy style game, so we're just making sets, we're matching cards. Now, because we're not doing any kind of runs like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're just matching all 1s, matching all 2s, matching all 3s, and so forth. This 104 card deck can be cut back down to about 13 cards. Now, when you cut this down to 13 cards, it starts to look a lot more manageable. And when I look at these, you have ace through king. Now, each of these will have 8 cards per number. So when I reskin this, really I'm just looking at 13 different images I need to skin this game. But there are 2 cards which are special. They're the Queen of Spades, and there's 2 of them with the 2 decks. Those will be reskinned as Mary Queen of Scots and Queen Elizabeth I from the story Mary Queen of Scots, which we talked about in the last episode. Now, one way I want to categorize these cards is by how the points break out to make it easy to count the points as somebody's playing the game. So for the ace, you're looking at 15 points. The 2, you're looking at 20 points. 3 through 9 are each worth 5 points. 10, Jack, Queen, King are each worth 10 points. And then your 2 Queen of Spades are worth 100 points. So the 2 Queens of Spades have already allocated those to Mary Queen of Scots as well as Queen Elizabeth. The ace I'll get back to in a second. I got a special idea for that. The 2, which is wild, I thought I would make that the crown jewels, because the crown jewels is something that kind of pertains to all the cards and it's something easy to see when you're playing the game and stand out from the rest of the cards. The 3 through 9, I think I'm going to actually skin that for some of the players that we talked about in the story from our last video. David Rizzio, William Cecil, Robert Dudley, Sir Nicholas Throckmorton, James Hepburn, Henry Stewart, and John Knox. Those are each player cards. I think it'll be easy to see that's worth 5 points when you're playing because it'll be a portrait image of one of those players. For the 10-point cards, I thought we could go with the 2 castles. So we have Loch Leven, where Mary Queen of Scots had to abdicate her throne to her infant son. We've got Fotheringhay Castle, where she was beheaded, unfortunately. Then I thought we could add in an executioner. So there's no real player or person in history that's been deemed as being the person that beheaded her. So I'm just going to make this kind of just a generic kind of executioner card that has clothing and a style similar to that time. And then for the last 10-point card, I'm going to go with James. So King James of England and Scotland, who is the son of Mary. I'm going to put him in there around the age of 16, which is the age he was in around the time when she was beheaded. So I thought that'd be kind of neat because we have to pair the 2 queens up with something. So I thought we could pair them up with King James. So you kind of have King James, who's the decision maker between the 2 queens. I thought that'd be kind of a neat way to skin that. Now for the ace, I got a great idea that I'm so excited about, and I think people are going to love this card. And it all gets down to the story when Mary was executed. You got to kind of think back to that time when she's walking towards this platform, which is maybe 2 feet off the ground, has 2 steps getting up to it. She's walking really slowly and stoically, and people are watching her and they're saying, wow, look how brave she is as she's walking up to the chopping block. And she takes 1 step consciously and carefully at a time as she gets up on this platform. She says her prayers and puts her head down to accept her execution. Now, when they execute her, it was pretty gruesome. It took 3 strikes of the axe to kill her. The first strike of the axe grazed her in the side of the head, and she was documented to have murmured, "Sweet Jesus," as that happened. And then, of course, they quickly did the 2 other chops to get this over with quickly. They lift her head up to show the crowd, say, "God save the Queen." Of course, she's wearing a wig, so her head falls out of the wig and rolls along the floor. People are screaming and freaking out. It was just a disaster. And at the time, it was told that Queen Elizabeth probably been pretty upset to hear how this went down because that wasn't very dignified for a royal member of the family. Now, at that time, executioners weren't really paid. Their money was achieved by collecting things off the body. So it was fair game. Anything left on the body, they were allowed to take away and sell, and that's how they made their money. So when the executioner went to remove the garters from Mary's body, her legs started moving. And people just started screaming and freaking out. And as they lift up the dress to see what's going on, out runs this little white Skye Terrier. He runs around, he lays between her head and her body in the blood. He's covered in blood. There's different stories as to what happened to the Skye Terrier after that. The best story is that he got cleaned up and given to a family member who adopted him and took him off, and he lived happily ever after. Not sure if that's the way it actually happened, but that's one of the stories. To have that dog there comforting her, I thought, wow, what a great card to have in the deck. And to have in the deck at such a high value of 15 points. So that is the mechanics of this game. That's how I'm going to take the story of Mary Queen of Scots and skin it onto this particular game. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how to actually go and start sourcing an artist or an illustrator to make your artwork. Thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. Please subscribe down below. Your support is greatly appreciated. Once again, this is James from Tin Robot.
Resistance to fun is futile.